It seems that the bulls are out to play over in Kenya. The market surpassing that 4,000-point mark in yesterday's session. What did you make of the kind of activity that we've been seeing on the markets and the sustenance behind, or the sustainability of, a move beyond this key psychological point?
Well, definitely a psychological point. We've been watching for that, and we've been anticipating it for a while now. We have had a lot of these movements being driven by the foreign investor. We're still yet to see the local retail investors begin to take their mark on the market. As I said last week, we usually see these ones. The local retail investors tend to come in when the market has already shown significant gains, and that means about now we should be expecting to see some movement on that. However, we have been seeing most of the activity concentrated mainly on the blue chips and mainly on the defensive counters. We have people like AABL, we are looking at BAT, we are looking at counters which tend to pay very high dividends, have very not very volatile in terms of their stock price movement, but we have seen significant gains also in the likes of Uchumi.
Let's touch in on Uchumi there. I mean, its shares were the biggest gainer on the bourse so far this year, or have been, rallying more than 151%. Samuel, that seems phenomenal. I mean, we had yesterday this share rising 1.6%, closing at 19 shillings 65, and that on the expectation that this company is going to be paying a dividend. Are you expecting that dividend coming through sooner rather than later?
Yes, I do expect a dividend. I think initially the shares came onto the market with a bit of skepticism. Being the first company to ever come out of receivership, you would have expected the investors to feel a bit, to sit back and watch for a while. But then after they realized that Uchumi is actually still doing very well, and that the company is acting very well, the management is actually doing very well. They have carved a niche, especially in the fresh produce segment, and the growth is actually, we can see it, and that has actually caused a very, very strong demand for the stock, especially from local investors. And incidentally, this is the one stock that has really gained from local investor activity. I think another stock that you would look at on that case would be at the River Mining, who are expecting to split, and that you will notice that in the last three splits we have seen the share prices tend to increase before and not after the split, and we have seen that the River Mining also go from 180 up to around 240.
Just honing in a little bit more on Uchumi, what are you making of its muscle right now and its ability to compete? I mean, we've got Nakumatt, a strong player in the Kenyan market as well, and just last week we were talking about a Mauritian furniture giant eyeing Kenya as well. So this is a landscape that's becoming increasingly competitive, Samuel.
Well, Uchumi has a very strong brand recognition, and the Uchumi's clients and the local clients view it as a Kenyan, a Kenyan pioneer in that area of retail, and it has been there. Some of us who were born with Uchumi still operating. Some of us know Uchumi, from way back then, and it was really sad to have seen Uchumi go the way it went, and therefore there is that level of patronization from the local investors. There is that level of patronization from the local shopper, which has really benefited Uchumi. But then again, we must look at the management. I think Mr. Shiano has actually created a very strong management. He has been able to steer the company back into profitability, and therefore we do expect some dividend to start coming through, because Kenyan investors are very dividend oriented, and Mr. Shiano will definitely be wanting to give them a signal that he is now capable of giving them some returns. But in terms of Uchumi as a brand, it is very capable of competing in the market, having a vast experience.
Let's hone in on TransCentury. I mean, we had the share there jumping the maximum 10% by the close of yesterday's session. It finished at 22 shillings, and that, of course, after we had the investment company come to the fore saying that it's selling part of its stake in the Tanzanian tea packager Chai Bora. It's going to be focusing on infrastructure projects primarily moving forward. The market certainly seeming to like this news, but having said that, we've got this company still trading way below its introductory price of 50 shillings at that 22 shilling mark, Samuel.
Well, I think TransCentury recently announced a change at the top, at the helm, and that is one of the reasons that we might be seeing these changes. I think the new management has also decided that they feel that there need to be some level of change in terms of what's happening and the type of the quality of assets that the company holds, being an investment company. And I think that would cause investors to have a more positive view if they feel that those assets which they felt were pulling TransCentury back are being shared and the company can become more competitive, then that would begin to at least augur well for the company's stock. However, I still think that having a huge stake, say, for example, in the Rift Valley Railway and, some assets that have been pulling it down, I think we should expect to see more of this coming going forward.